Hello, hello, hello. It is time. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Alright, time to get to work. Now, I said I was going to work on the thumbnail today, but I forgot to set up the file and the sketch for it, so rip. I forgot to do that because I got caught up in things. So we're just going to work on the comic page today because it's the easiest thing I can work on right now. Because I am in so much pain. So, so we're just going to do just do basic coloring today. Hope you don't mind. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good today, if anybody else was asking. How about you? Mm-mm-mm. That and I feel more comfortable getting this page done first, so I don't have to worry about it. It's one of those things, like the comic book page in my brain is top priority over literally everything else. There we go. Especially since the schedule, since like, ever since I didn't stream on Monday, the kind of plan that I kind of had for the streams has kind of been like, oh, now I can't do that. So next week, I feel like I'll be more on top of the scheduling process. Oh, you know what I should do? Hold up. Because I think this might be... There we go. Now you get a little bit of the background music. I think I realized that I'd had this a little too quiet. Just a little bit more. Okay, good, good, good. Yeah, I got caught up in things. I couldn't even watch, like, my regular stuff. Though I did watch an interesting video about the 12 rules of writing, which was, like, I kind of knew these rules, but something about, like, someone, like, reinforcing them, basically, and explaining why they're reinforced, kind of, like, helped me get into a mindset of what I should be focusing on again. It's one of those things, it's just like, when you know something doesn't always mean you understand it, or at least, or maybe you've forgotten kind of like the details of why this is a rule kind of thing. Ooh, excuse me. Because I think that's the biggest point. I think when it comes to anything, especially whatever project you're working on, whether it be writing, art, or whatever, just reinforcing why certain rules exist. Even if like a part of you kind of feels like you already know what these are, and maybe a part of you already knows why the rule is there, just having someone just kind of like, I don't know, another person kind of reinforcing it helps you focus a little bit more. And kind of reestablishes why you also follow those same rules. And sometimes if you're lucky, you'll hear something, um, like you might come across something new. Or maybe like a new reason why the rule is there. Because like everything kind of changes over time, and then rules change and stuff like that. But there's some rules that never change, even even if certain standards have changed, like the rule's still there, but maybe like the meaning behind the rule might have changed a little bit, but sometimes only slightly. Like maybe has a different like there's a different way of explaining it, or it's the same rule but implemented differently. Um, like like I'm trying to think of one of them as a good example. Like um, because I think a lot of people have been struggling with when it comes to writing. A lot of people are struggling with the concept of like if art is so suggestive, um, why is there structure to it? Like, can't you just do whatever you want? And a lot of people fall into this trap in their writing, uh, or art, or basically any artistic field, um, where they feel like they don't have to follow structure in order to be entertaining, which to an extent they are technically correct in the sense of like, well, if you're entertaining a party of one, then yes, you could do whatever the hell you want. But if you want to be marketable or profitable or just have an audience in general, um, you might have to. There are rules in entertainment on how to be universally entertaining. And sometimes it's one of those things like universally entertaining is probably not exactly the right term. Because even if you're like, say, you're writing a story about romance, there's just some people that are just not interested in the concept, or at least the concept as a main focus in a story. They're just gonna opt out just because of that alone, and that's fine. That is perfectly fine. You just gotta let that go. Just gotta let it go. There's just some people that are just not interested as the main focus. And then you're gonna have then after you're done dealing with that, you gotta let go of the fact that some people are going to think that your style or just the way you're telling the romance story kind of sucks, and they could be right. Um, they could be right. You just have to be careful on like everything when it comes to critiquing. Sometimes the biggest asshole might have a point, and you gotta be careful about that. But then again, if it's a big enough, like the thing is, if it's a big enough problem, because like I remember someone saying this on their podcast, where it's just like, remember that don't listen to your viewer, listen to your audience, in the sense of like, if there's a big enough problem that, let's say someone says this plot line is stupid, right? Well, actually, probably more accurately for the ones that do not do well with critiquing things. You're stupid, and this plot is stupid. Like this is the nicest way I could say this without like getting vulgar. But if it's a big enough problem, someone's going to bring up the same problem in a more elegant manner. So, because usually the people who actually care will be more polite about it. They will be like, "Hey, um, this plot is going nowhere. I would appreciate it. Like, I don't want you to spoil anything, but please be aware that we are going absolutely nowhere with this." You know, and that's like, uh, and you will end up finding that person, and there's a bunch of other people that are saying the same thing and probably being a little more rude about it. Doesn't change the fact that like it's being noticeable. If it's a consistent problem, you might have to address it. And you will get nicer critiques about the problem if you have an audience that's concerned. I know it's a lot harder when you're like a smaller creator, where you don't really have an audience, you just have random strangers critiquing your work. That's a lot harder to swallow, because like I think it's actually easier to get critique from your audience than it is to get from random, even if they're professional, just random people that are just not interested in your work but are also trying to give you critique. So it's like it comes across. Oh, hello. It comes across as like you. It's the classic case of, oh no, you're totally not late. You were here the whole time. I decided to just go on a rant about like how to take. Well, like I recently saw a video about the 12 rules of writing. It's one of those things where part of me was just um, like I kind of already knew these rules, but it was nice to kind of hear of not only just a form of reinforcement, but more of just like kind of reminding myself. I was like, wait, why are these rules again? You know? So it was a nice kind of refresher course kind of feeling, and from a completely different video than where I usually hear it from. So, well, yeah. Then I kind of went on a thing about the like how to get how to not only take but listen to critique. Uh, and I think the biggest problem when trying to take critique, I think it's actually harder. Well, it depends on the personality, I guess. But I think for me, it's personally harder to get critique on something um, if your project isn't popular, because at least with if you have an audience, you could kind of like kind of surf your way through from um, the people that aren't actually concerned, they just want to critique. And to be fair, there could be good advice from someone like that. Like they don't really care, but they also have good advice. But sometimes their advice could come across as hostile. Um, and sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just straight up hostile. But sometimes it's more of like they're very brutally honest, but mostly because that's just how they critique things, and it's just like you. But but it's a lot easier because I remember listening to someone saying about differences between listening to your viewer and listening to your audience. Um, because one critique about a problem isn't going to change the entire story overnight. Um, it has to be a big enough issue that it concerns the audience, not just the one reader. So let's say you get like a really nasty critique about a particular plot point. Like this says like you're dumb and this plot is dumb. Um, and if there's just one guy saying it, you're probably okay. Like it's one of those things like unless you actually see a problem with it, you're probably fine until you get like maybe 5, 6, 7, 30 people coming in also slightly saying the same thing but nicer, and sometimes worse. Mm, to an extent. Some of them are fast, hard rules. there's just some rules that just make you go, yeah, if you don't follow that rule, your thing is gonna be either incredibly boring or just bad, just straight up bad. Um, because sometimes a lot of artists fall into this trap of thinking that if art is so suggestive that like why are there rules? So you have to be careful not to fall into that mindset because these rules exist for a reason. Um, and the classic case of any art, with anything with art, you have to understand the rules in order. You have to understand the rules in order to break them. Because a lot of artists tend to already break the rules before understanding what those rules mean. Because like, good example. When it comes to detective stories, there's this really, really, really important rule about it's pretty simple in it's simple in what it says, but in context it's more complicated. Is the classic rule of you can't make the detective the murderer. Now, point blank, that sounds like it's like I don't know, that seems like a stupid rule, but think about it, okay? So why is that a rule? Well, for one thing, the reason why they say detective because in most mystery stories, the main character is 99% of the time detective or at least has a detective-like personality. The problem is, the reason why you don't make the detective the murderer is because the detective is he's the, especially if you write the story as a, what's the word, first person perspective, like you literally hear all of the detective's thoughts, like because unless you're doing it in third person, and even then you could barely get away with that, like even with that, even if you make it third person, um, you're still gonna have problems making the detective the murderer because the audience will start questioning why we didn't see certain things the detective did and we saw other things the detective did. Or the worst case scenario if you made it a first person. Hmm? Uh, Murder Dutch Mysteries? I don't know what that is. Now there have been mysteries that I've actually liked that got away with the whole detective being the murderer, but that's just because they wrote around that rule in the sense of like they either had amnesia or Detective Pikachu. Um, wait, Detective Pikachu wasn't the murderer. Wait, I'm confused. I actually, unless you're talking, like, what are you talking about, the movie or the game? Because I don't think neither one of those things were a thing. Um, but then again, I think what you're trying to say is, in the sense of all like, detective doesn't know certain things. That's fine, but it has to be in the context of the story. Like, there's a reason why this character wouldn't know this, which would be either amnesia or like questionable memory or just basic information they just didn't know about. Now, making the detective the murderer, on the other hand, like it's like how the hell do you make them the murderer without them knowing them being the murderer? Um, that's where you have to be careful with the rule, because if you like, that's why I hate Danganronpa 3. They have that the wait, can I spoil Danganronpa 3? I'm spoiling the first case, right? And my sister and I raged quit Danganronpa 3 because of that first case, because they basically made the detective in that thing the murderer. And I get it. It's like, well, she wasn't the detective. She was. I'm like, no, 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 no. We were literally in her head the entire time. Like, saw her thoughts and stuff like that. But for some reason, we didn't know certain things that she did, because if we did, we would know she did it. And it wouldn't be a mystery, would it? But I was like, but yeah, but even in the context of the story, it doesn't give you a reason why we don't know because we were in her head the whole time. So it's really, really dumb. Like, you can't, the audience, you can't treat your audience like that. You just can't. Nope. That's one of those, like, that's a story where you go, this is the reason why you can't break this rule. You could find ways to get around it, you could bend it, but you can't literally break it. Because then it just makes people absolutely furious. Which is funny because there's a lot of people who really like that first case, and I'm scratching my head like, they literally broke the rule. I don't understand why you people think this is amazing. Like, I can't. I just can't with you people. But yeah, because I remember, like, oh, you know what? I'm trying to think of one. Even technically Danganronpa 2 also had the whole quote-unquote detective being, well, not the murderer, but he was more of the mastermind behind everything. I was like, well, at least that one made sense. Like, at least you can argue that, like, they had a way around the rule. They made around the rule. And I was like, that's fine. It was a little lackluster, to be honest, because they kind of focused more on what's her name, which I'm just like, okay, here we go again. But but yeah, it's one of those things where, and then they did it, and I remember uh, Zero Escape, second game, basically did the same thing. In fact, that's actually where I learned the rule about don't make the detective the murderer. I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of knew that was a rule, but you didn't know there was a name for it, kind of thing. Um, and and they, in fact, in the files, they talked about the rules of detective or mystery stories. Triggered bow. But but when it comes to detective stories, one of the main big rules is to not make the detective the murderer, and then it goes into details of what that actually meant. And it was kind of funny because they pointed that out in the files because they technically broke that rule. In this, well, like, they didn't like break it to the point of like it didn't make any sense. They just went against. They basically saw that rule and go, how can we break it without pissing people off? So, because that's how the writer is. Like, he always likes to make like find rules and try to mess with them. And that's the thing. And I think that's a lot of things where a lot of writers need to take a step back. They want to, when they're like, I want to break people's expectations, right? And it's like, great. Do you know what this means? And they're like, nope, but I don't like that trope, so I'm gonna break it. And it's like, you can't break the trope if you don't understand why people like it. Like, you have to understand why people like a certain thing in order to manipulate it into something else. Like, oh, you know what? Hold up. Let's get a little personal. My favorite tropes, it's the stupidest tropes in the sense of like they're so overdone, but I don't fucking care, is father and sons or brothers or brothers that act like fathers. Like, like the big brother has to take up the father role because dad's dead or something, And I love these freaking tropes. You could probably see it in my own stories over time. It's just like, wow, this woman will not let this go. Best trope is because we're Sonic Heroes. I don't even know what that means, but I like it. Uh, mm. But. So, and what I like, okay, so then there's like the Dream SMP, right? And they have like Wilbur and Tommy. They have this like super brother bond, right? But it's toxic as fuck. And I'm so intrigued by that because usually sometimes it could be a little toxic in depending on the circumstances. I love Pixar. Oh yeah, that's actually like I didn't see the whole thing. I kind of saw the end of it. So like, oh, I really need to sit back and actually watch the whole thing because I feel like this scene would have impacted me more if I saw the whole thing. Um, we kind of struggled watching that one because the internet was really bad. So like, I kept coming in while they were in the like every time I came in, when they were trying to watch that poor movie. Is when the site was buffering, so it was just like it was funny because my nephew was just all like, that was a long movie. It's like the movie actually wasn't that long, William. We just like every half an hour we had to wait for the stupid thing to buff. It's like and the buffing took forever. Holy shit. But anyway, what I mean is they took like Dream SMP took the brother bond, right? And made it so incredibly toxic that it like I've never had a brother bond relationship that made me go leave. Like you need to get out, you need to leave, you need to get out of that environment, like because usually when it comes to the brother trope, I'm usually a little like sometimes the brother could be a bit much, or sometimes there's like some kind of conflict, but I'm like they'll work it out at the end. This I'm just sitting here going, get out, get out of this. He either needs to leave or he needs to die. Like this is the worst. I hate. You are the worst big brother ever. Stop hurting him. I love Will. Like, content Will. Stop being good at this. Like, whoops. Ah, darn it. Pressed the wrong button. Oh, I accidentally. Means when the characters are like, we can't beat you because we have. Oh, okay. Okay, I haven't heard that one, like, as a trope. Like, I've never heard it as a. Like, I feel like the closest thing I've heard when it comes to a trope like that is like the power of friendship or excuse me. Yes. Well, my favorite is my sister and I when the power of friendship fails. Like, it's like, you'll beat you with the power of friendship. And then the bad guy just goes, friendship dead. And then they all die. Like, oh my god. Sorry, I'm just thinking of like there was this manga that had that where they were just like, we'll defeat you with the power of friendship, and they just fucking fail. They just fucking fail, and the story goes on after the failure. And I'm just like, that's the funniest shit. Like, we'll beat you with the power of friendship. Friendship dead. Anyway, I'm getting a little off track, but point being, uh, true. I feel like you could probably like use any franchise to meme that because like I think every franchise has a little bit of power of friendship, especially things like Shojin and stuff like that, which once again is cool. And you, like I said, even with that manga that I mentioned earlier about the whole like, we'll defeat you with the power of friendship dead. That was technically taking that trope and once again, um, uh, uh, but I had the word, uh, your expectations of it and flipping it. But they understand like why that's a thing because the story continues after the failure in the sense of like, okay, so this is not that kind of story where like friendship will defeat all enemies. You gotta actually have to be a little smarter than that. Friendship is nice, but a plan would have been better. Like, like like a better, stronger strategic words would have been a lot better instead of going head first into the dragon's mouth. So it's like, okay, subverting expectations, that's the word I'm looking for. And like messing with tropes. I call it's not breaking tropes, it's messing with them. Taking a trope and like changing something about it to make it something new. Because breaking it sounds like you're being malicious on purpose, and people don't like that. audiences don't like it, especially because it feels like you're trying to satisfy the people who hate the trope, which if they hate the trope, why are they watching your shit? Like, it's one of those things. It's just like, I think that's why a lot of people don't like when people do that, is when it comes across that they're not messing with the trope, they're breaking it. Like, they're taking it over their knee and purposely breaking it, and they're just like, why'd you do that? That's trope meta. Like, there's some, like, I think the best way to, like, because I think superhero stories tend to fall into this mindset of people trying to break the trope, is the trope of flipping the trope. Like, yeah, in a way, that's kind of a trope in and of itself, and people who do that don't want to admit that. Because they're like, that's not what I'm doing. It's like, yeah, that's what you're doing. Like, it's a thing. You're not the first one to do this, okay? Don't make yourself have a big head, okay? Just because maybe you're the first one to flip this trope, flipping a trope isn't new. Get your head out of your ass. Sorry. Like, sometimes with some writers, it's just like, I'm the most genius person. Shut up. Just shut up. But anyway, the point is, people would appreciate your writing more is that they, I think it comes with part of the rule. One of the 12 rules of writing is to be honest, and and once again, people could see it in your writing if you're being malicious with the trope. But then you'll turn into a trope. That's the thing. That's the thing. You will become a trope once you do something outside of the box. And then they would just call you the trope that flips tropes. Because the thing is, because, like, oh, you know what? Nefarious is probably a good example. Which thank God he started slowing down on this. Because the problem is, I liked when he was doing the whole, like, reverting your expectations on characters, right? Like, first you think this character's like this, but turns out he's actually like this. That only works in, like the first season, maybe second season of basically anything you write, because after a while, people are going to know what these characters are. So trying to manipulate the audience into thinking they're going to do one thing over another isn't exactly going to work. Or the worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario, is that you do the flipping so much that people expect you to do the flipping, so the flipping isn't spontaneous anymore. People already know you're going to do that, so why bother suspecting that you're not? That's why I was a little concerned with Nefarious at one point, where I felt like he might have been doing it a little too much, because I was like, dude, at some point, people are just going to assume, like, you're obviously trying to trick us into one thing, and it's obviously going to be something else. Yeah, you could argue, yeah, but you don't know what that other thing is. And I'm like, yeah, but we know it's not going to be this, right? The thing that you're trying to convince us that it might be, So, what I'm saying is, it was going to get annoying if he didn't do something about it. And I felt like he still kind of does it, he just doesn't do it as much, which is the right thing to do in the sense of, like, where to take this, because, like I said, people are going to know these characters at a certain point, because this only works in first impressions on characters. It doesn't work when you actually get to know them and start understanding their personalities. If you start messing with that too much, people get really, really frustrated. Are... Wait, what is it? Are predictable stories good? Fucking yes! Like, I don't understand why people think this, like, if your story is predictable, does it, like, it automatically means it's bad. That's not... Hold on.
You could have the basic bitch story ever written and people can be interested in it. It just needs that one thing that separates it out from the rest. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the plot. Sometimes it could just be the visuals. Like, there's a lot of basic either children's stories or just colorful, simple short stories that the plot isn't really necessarily what makes it different. It may be the visuals or the approach or the character. Like, say, it's a classic story about a prince slaying a dragon. Uh, Now, the boring aspect is the problem. Like, that's the part where you have to be careful, because just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's boring. There's a lot of mysteries that I really like, even though I knew who the murderer was, because I read a lot of mystery stories. So there's a certain point where you start realizing the pattern of things and where things are going, right? But you could still like a mystery story even though you knew who did it. Like, from the very beginning, you're like, oh, wait, I just figured out what happened. But I'm enjoying the ride. So that's why I think certain mystery novelists have to be careful. Um, they have to be careful when it comes to focusing so much on the mystery that, because the drama comes in the people involved, right? Because, like, just because you know who the murderer is doesn't change the fact that this is affecting these people, right? So, like, if that could get your attention, then knowing who the murderer is isn't going to affect your experience. Maybe a little bit, if you were very looking forward to, like, being surprised and stuff like that. But, you know, you get over that pretty quickly. Like, also writers gotta be careful. If that one guy named Steve figured out your foreshadowing and just told everyone in the comments section what it was and what it meant, don't answer. Shut up. Don't say anything. Just because Steve figured it out doesn't mean everybody else did, because everybody else is probably going, are you sure about that, Steve? You know, like, oh, you know a best example? Oh my god. Even though I don't really like this plot twist, there's a lot of people who do, so I'll let that go. Uh, Subvert expectations, and it makes the story a lot better. Or you get Star Wars 8. Yeah, exactly. But like I said, that when you do that, the expectation things, and don't understand the rule of why that's there, because that's where that's the problem. It's the problem of not understanding why people like a certain character, so making them a certain way. If you don't oh you knew what I was talking about. You knew. But the point is, the Stephen, like, the whole Rose being Pink Diamond, right? Right. Now, personally, I don't think that's a really good plot twist. But, um, oh shit, where was I going with this? Um, oh shit, where was I going with this? Um, oh no, where was I going with this? No, I had it and then it was gone. Shit. Um, okay, now I remember. Holy shit. Okay, there were a lot of people that were casual fans of the show, not like super into the show, knew that Pink Diamond was Rose Quartz the entire time. I know people that was like, oh, that's gonna be Pink Diamond. Especially after they revealed who, like, Pink Diamond was a thing. They're like, oh, it's just Rose Quartz, right? I was like, huh, really? They're like, yeah, look at all the signs. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a few visual signs that kind of go against it. And they're like, yeah, but I feel like they're trying a little too hard to hide it, considering how long they're taking to reveal it. I'm sitting here going, well, okay. And then it happened, and I was like, holy shit, everybody that didn't actually care about this show, like, not to the extent that the hardcore fans did, saw this coming. Um, but like I said, just because Steve figured it out doesn't change the fact that doesn't necessarily mean the audience figured it out. Don't panic because one person figured out the plot. And even if the whole entire audience knows the plot, if they're enjoying the ride anyway, you're fine. Now, it's a little concerning if they're not enjoying the ride, then you have a different problem. But if your story, maybe your mystery story will just be lackluster, but at least you had an audience that had fun. When it comes to mystery novels and stuff like that, or mysteries anything, that's still a good sign. That's still good. It's not great, but it's still good. And that's a step in the right direction. Wow, that was the longest rant I've done in a while. Oh shit, I should drink coffee later. The problem is I have coffee way too early before the stream. Like, I have it while I'm trying to get the kids out the door. But now I decided to hold off a little bit until I actually started recording. But yeah, it's one of those things where unless you're making a party of one, you have to be a little more cautious about entertaining your audience. And I think that was like the first rule of the 12 rules, was to know your audience. And some people get the wrong idea what that means. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. It's like you'd be surprised what people already figured out, but sometimes that's such a small pool that you have so many other people kind of like, are you sure? Are you sure? And then it gets muddied into the waters and stuff like that because everybody's got their own perception of what might happen. And to be fair, and sometimes that could be a problem depending on, because there's also the danger of, because people have these expectations sometimes, that you have to be careful that even with those expectations, you as the writer is not picking the most boring option. That's a I'll admit, I'm terrified of that happening in my writing. Is that turns out the option I picked for the actual reveal and stuff like that turned out to be the most boring thing, the most boring option. But if you sometimes a boring option is okay, even if some people are if it makes the most sense. If it makes the most sense, people are usually willing to forgive. They're like, now that I think about it, as cool as that thing would have been, the more I thought about what actually happened and what actually has been revealed, this actually makes more sense. He becomes the Green Hood. Oh shit. Wait, he dies and becomes the Green Hood. What the fuck? Wait. Wait. Wait a minute. How does that fucking work? What the fuck? But yeah, it's one of those things where I think the biggest I've seen this a lot with, especially with writers as they go, is the panic of, oh shit, they figured it out. And a lot of writers need to, sometimes it's better to just bite the bullet and go with it. Because you said the Green Hood. I'm like, what the fuck is the Green Hood? And I was thinking of Green Arrow, the Green Arrow, and I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense either. I'm just like, wait, what? I mean, to be fair, Trent. God, I don't know why my brain just went. Trent is basically every Robin in Batman ever. I mean, to be fair, I think I kind of lean towards Dick Grayson, but But sometimes I kind of mix a little bit of the other Robins too. But I would say he's more of a mix between Dick Grayson and what is the one that turns into the Red Hood? Oh, why can't I remember his name? Was it James? Demi though? Who? Who? Look, just because I'm more awake doesn't mean I read better. Oh, Damien! Shit! Once again, it's too early in the morning. Damien's a sweetheart. That's the problem. Damien's a sweetheart. Like he, like he doesn't, he, like okay. So the best way to describe Trent, he has a little bit of all three Robins, right? He has a little bit of Dick Grayson in the sense of could get a little frustrated with Tombkeeper. Okay, you get a little frustrated with him with some of the decisions he does, but he also adores him like Grayson Todd, right? And then you have Damien, which is more of the dangerous route that Trent can go down if he's not careful. He gets very dangerously close to going down that path of Damien, and I will not say if he ever does or to what extent, but let's just say he'll have his Damien moments. Let's just put it at that. Let's just put it at that. Especially when you have to deal with this fucker right here. Oh, it's Jason Todd, Tim Drake. God damn it! I'm getting my Robins mixed up. But you know which ones I'm talking about, right? I'm thinking, yeah, Tim's the sweetheart. Okay, now I'm getting them right. Tim's the sweetheart. Jason's the one that goes rogue, and Dick is the first Robin. Uh, Dick is my personal favorite one, mostly because of the animated series. Actually, that's one of those things. It's a hard choice between Dick and Todd. Tim. Damn it. I looked at Todd. I was like, I meant Tim. Because like I would say out of the two, they're complete. Like Tim and Dick are complete opposites from each other. When it comes to personalities. Stop. Sorry. Sorry. When I get into these rants, I start swearing up a storm. uh, I'm trying to think of what. I actually forgot what color his shirt's supposed to be. Was that gonna make it red? I think it was. No. Yes. No, yes? Red. Let's do red. Yeah, red on the top. But yeah. I would say Trent's personality has a mixture of all three Robins to an extent. Um, some personalities probably going to be a little stronger than others. I would say he strongly more resembles Dick, and he has more of Jason and Damien moments. Like he sometimes can look up to Tombkeeper like Damien. And then other times he could be very judgmental, like Jason. '60s Robin. Isn't '60s Robin? Wait. Isn't '60s Robin just Dick? Is it just Dick Grayson in the '60s? But when it comes to the Robins, I'm thinking of more the Batman animated series. The only reason why I know anything about Jason Todd is because I actually saw the Red Hood movie, the one where they kind of fixed his origin story a little bit. I was like, wow, that was actually a lot better than his actual origin story in the comics. Whew, like that was a that was a that was kind of a mess. There we go. Yeah, because I think, like I said, when they said one of the rules in writing is being honest. So, and I always take that rule as like, if there's a trope that you want to mess with, you can't you can't approach it with malice. You can't approach it with malice. Um, in the sense of like, God, I hate this trope, so I'm going to destroy it and destroy it with a hammer. Uh, I like, wait, sorry, I don't, like I kind of went on a different thing, but like, where was I going with that? The point is, I mean, you get like, let's say, there's a particular thing in this trope that you don't like. That could work. Like there's some tropes that even I personally like. There's certain parts of it that make me go, like either I don't like it or I think they could do better on it. Like they just do not, for some reason, as many times as I've seen this trope, they never consider this possibility or never extend it. They only extend it to a certain point, you know? Oh, oh, the chat's now. I think the chat might be broken. Hold on. There we go. Now it fixed itself. Um, do I like musicals? I do. I actually really like musicals. Sometimes I end up liking the songs more than the musicals themselves. Um, that tends to be a thing that happens a lot. But there's some musicals that I super super like. Like I like the oh, what's it called? Hadestown. That's a good shit. That's some good shit right there. Um, but I'm trying to think of another musical that I really like. Basically any Disney Renaissance. Like I can't think of a single one that I didn't like. Um, what else? What else? Trying to think of more modern ones that I liked. Like I said, a lot of them, I like I listen to their soundtrack but never watch their musicals. That's a thing I do a lot. I still technically haven't seen Evan Hansen. My friend did though, and she said it was surprisingly good considering the context of everything. Uh, she was all like, I don't know if I would like it as much if I saw it either as a movie or if it wasn't a musical, um, because there were certain topics that made it really hard to like the main character. Um, so she was just all like, uh, not even just like the main character, just the plot in general. She was just like, I don't know. I don't know if I would like it if it was just not only even if it was a musical movie. Uh, uh, like she saw it as like the actual stage play. Um, she was like, I don't know if I would like it if whether it be like just a regular plot. Uh, hated tropes. Hated tropes. I can't think of a trope that I absolutely despise. Um, there is somewhat of a trope, like it's not really that prevalent, but I hate it when it happens, is the whole, what is it? This is gonna sound really bad, but I've seen it in some stories, and I hate it when they do it. And like I said, it's not like a super trope. It's more like a really down low trope that sometimes happens. Is the whole uh, we're in love and we're gonna run away and abandon all our friends. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. Fucking hate that. Stop it. like it sadly happens with a lot of lesbian couples, and I hate that too. Like I hate when they do that. Is the whole like sometimes some of them are straight couples for some reason. It happens a lot with lesbian couples, and it's really I don't I don't like it. I don't like it when they do that to them. Is the whole like we're in love and we're gonna abandon all our friends. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. And like I said, it doesn't happen a lot. And to be fair, a lot of it happens in mostly indie stories, which I don't know why that's a thing, but it happens in a lot of indie stuff, and I hate that trope. It's such a weird trope, and most people don't even know that's a thing, but I've seen it enough to know that's a thing. Um, I just can't. I just can't. I hate it, and I hate it, and I hate it. And like I said, it sadly happens with a lot of lesbian couples. I have seen it with a couple of straight couples, and I think one time with a gay couple, like a dudes. But my God, like I hate it. I fucking hate it. And you're probably sitting there going like, I've never seen that trope before. It's like, good, like just good. I hope you never see it, because when I see it, I want to puke. I fucking hate it. It's like I get it, you're in love, but you're literally abandoning all your shit. Like I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Like literally, you just abandon all your best friends and everything, and you're just like, yeah, but we just want to go and be a couple. It's like, yeah, but you still got shit to do. I want you to have a happily ever after. But shit, man, like, you got shit to do here. Ugh, I hate it. But yeah. Uh, Wait, just one moment. I want to make sure everything's still working. And like I said, it sounds like it kind of what's the word I'm looking for? True, true. And I wouldn't mind it if that's what they were like. I think the problem is the writers end up falling into this mistake of what's the word I'm looking for? They fall into the mistake of making it sound like they're escaping a bad situation, which sometimes like the thing is there's a difference between them escaping a bad situation, like a bad environment, and kind of abandoning their friends, you know? Because it'd be one thing if they kind of escape the situation and try to keep up with them, but the story never comes across that's what they're doing. They just straight up abandon, like they straight up abandon the people that tried to help them. You know, you're like you have a best friend that's also something not necessarily the same thing, but something similar, and you didn't even talk to them. You know, kind of thing. So it's like I get like in the sense of like I get what they're trying to do. Um, and it could be just basic like inexperienced writing in the sense of all like uh, they just didn't think that far ahead when they made this sympathetic best friend character involved in their situation. um, it's just one of those things where and then sometimes it really is just you just forgot that not everything was this bad. You know, like you just suddenly assume that everything was just absolutely horseshit when not everything was horseshit. Okay, guys, you didn't have to completely abandon everything. Okay, but yeah, it's one of those things where I totally get why. Uh, like I said, it's a writer's mistake when they try to like they don't want to make the entire situation like because sometimes they go, well, it's not really realistic if everyone's an asshole, right? But then you're like, but yeah, but then you made the sympathetic, not one, sometimes more, people that are actually really like trying to help you out and are also in very similar situations sometimes, and you just not even try to keep up with them. You know, you just abandon them like they weren't really a thing. Like they never helped you, and just like, yes, they did, you bitch. Like sorry. I was just thinking of a few stories that came to my head. But like I said, it's just a really, it's one of those particular tropes that have they're like it's one of those things. If it didn't happen so often in these kind of stories, that I wouldn't really necessarily call them tropes, but they kind of are now. And it gets really frustrating sometimes because it's just like, like it makes it really hard to like you. And it's worse because like sometimes it's just like, wow, like now I don't like I really wanted to like this couple, but this couple is kind of assholes. So it's not just hating, it's not just disliking one person, it's disliking two people. So it's just like and one of them is always kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this person, and then the other one's like, this person's probably kind of a jerk, and then it turns into, oh, so you're both assholes. Like, you know, like I said, sometimes writers so caught up in the romance between two characters they forgot literally everybody else they wrote in the story. I think that's what that is. I think that's literally what the problem is that they got so caught up in the story that they literally forgot, especially if they unintentionally made some really interesting side characters. They unintentionally made some really interesting side characters, and then at one point started focusing so much on the romance, they they forgot the side characters' storylines and either dropped them or pretended that they didn't matter. And that's what makes me mad. Like, and like some of them I'll give the benefit of the doubt that they didn't realize that they did that. Some of them, like, it really depends on the story, whether there was some like wow, really, like it's one of those things where once again you have to write honestly, because then you get then sometimes um thank you. Like I really like reading stories and overanalyzing stuff. Sometimes, and also remember, your audience isn't always going to be me in the sense of like the overanalyzing, the overstructure, the always remembering the rules kind of person. Some people just want a good story, and more than half the time that's going to be like sometimes your core audience. So don't put too much pressure on yourself that you might have that one audience member that overthinks things a little too much. Um, and sometimes you'll endure that kind of audience. I really hate reading. I hate reading to an extent. Like I said, I'm dyslexic, so it's like the best way I describe to people how it feels like to read for me is that people usually read like they're watching a movie, like they're being entertained in the sense of like they're just sitting down enjoying a movie in their brain, right? Me, with reading, it feels like I'm running on a treadmill watching a movie. It's never comfortable, especially after a certain point. It becomes physically exhausting to read. Um, so that's where I lean in. That's why I read a lot of comic books, because I get a chance to, every time I feel like super exhausted at a certain point, I just give myself to just visually take in the visuals. It was kind of funny because one person saw me reading and they're like, wow, you really like this comic book. You've been on this page for like 5 minutes. I'm like, yeah, that's the reason. Like, like, it's like, no, I'm taking a mental break. So I'm just taking in the visuals while I give my brain a rest before I read the next page. And I think a lot of people would be eased into the whole reading process. I think that's why a lot of children have like picture books and stuff like that. It's like the children's baby children equivalent of comic books. And then you get the comic books and then you get to actual books because then you have you have like the visual mindset of creating things but also the imagination of your own to kind of start piecing things together. Yeah, yeah. I've had a lot of people have that problem too. How I used to do it, when it comes to getting easily distracted, I don't know if it works for everybody, so like you could try out this method, but it might not work. Is the I like to listen to background music. Like say, I remember when I had to read, um, oh, what was it called? What was it called? The Odyssey for my college work. I had to read the Odyssey. So what I did is that I found, that game Journey. I just found the OST and just played it while I was reading it because it helped me focus. Because it's not like a lyrical song or anything bombastic. It's just enough to kind of blare out everything else, and it kind of gives you like a mood. You need a mood sometimes. Sometimes your head isn't isn't imaginative enough to give you a mood, so you kind of have to have, like with me, I need to have like some kind of background music to give me a kind of mood to read the story. It unintentionally gives me like a movie soundtrack to what I'm reading. And like I said, this doesn't always work with everybody. In fact, there's some people that can't, like, music is too distracting no matter how subtle it is. So this might not work with everybody. That's how I've done it. So you could give it a shot if it helps. When there was a ooh, that must have been an interesting read. That's the thing. I actually really like the first book. Um, Second and third book I don't like as much, which is sad because I actually really like the setup to everything. I just think the ending to the three-part series is kind of disappointing. Like a part of me is like, oh, we probably should have just ended on the first book kind of feeling, which is sad because it's kind of funny because I tell my sister, right, is that I feel like the third book had like two endings, one good one and one bad one. Because I liked how they handled the whole like the children's situation with what is his name? I haven't read these books in a while. Um, was it? No, it wasn't Michael. What was the guy's name that gets caught and he has to help the ghost kids like defeat the purple man. Uh, the purple guy. Oh fuck. I wish I remembered. But like I liked his whole like wrap up to his story, right? His story was good. But the reveal with Charlie was like, oh, mm-hmm. Sometimes you just need that book that just motivates you into just like, but I does have to know. Dave Miller, was his name Dave? Oh, maybe it was Dave. Like I said, I haven't. I like it's been a while since I've
read the book, so I'm trying to remember everyone's name. I remember Charlie and John because I was really invested in those two, which is a shame because I felt like the third book kind of I wouldn't say ruined it, but it kind of just went, you could have done better. This reveal was, the problem with the reveal of what she was kind of contradicted a thing that happened that a part of me is like, I almost don't want to read the book again to confirm that. I'm like, oh, because you read all three of the books, right? Is it okay if I explain what my problem is with the whole reveal with Charlie was? There we go. I think I've mentioned this before on a particular stream, why I didn't like her reveal. There we go. And the Kite Man. Oh, okay. Kite Man was really good because the writer and yep. Basically, what happens was they just basically revealed that Charlie was actually a robot the whole time, and I'm sitting here going, like, when that happened, I was just like, because I was like, didn't you literally have like 4 chapters beforehand basically confirming that there's no way in hell she's a robot? Like, literally no way in hell that she's a robot, because there was this scene where John was messing with because the reason why the other girl was the robot, he found out about her, even though she could look like a person, was the whole sound wave thing. Like, they had this thing that made sound waves that mess with people's vision. So it made it, even though she was even though the baby doll was obviously a robot, the sound waves messed with people's vision and made her look more human. Now, when they discovered this, John was like, there was a robot doll. It didn't. um, but yeah, it was and then he was going back and forth with the sound thing, like kind of like showing it to the doll, then turning it on in front of the doll, and the doll would turn more into like a sort of human baby, like it was kind of weird looking, and then he would go to Charlie, and Charlie would be normal, and he'd go back to the doll, and he sees that the vision changed, he'd go back to Charlie, like he was doing that, he was like super excited because not only did he prove, like, that Charlie was alive and everything, that she wasn't a robot and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, so like this is the scene that's supposed to be like, in case you were still wondering if Charlie was a robot, she's not. And then the ending happened. I was like, you just you just 4 chapters ago, like 4 score and chapters ago, you made it very painfully clear that that can't be possible. What the fuck? So yeah, I was just like, Scott, why? Like, Scott, why? Then again, I love Scott's writing, so it's one of those things like, he could have one bad one. He could have one bad one. He could have one bad one. He's normally really good about like this kind of stuff, but no, Scott, I can't give you that one this time. That was dumb. That was dumb. You probably should have reread your book before doing that. I do kind of still want to read what was it? like the spin-off books, the ones that kind of like their own little Goosebumps like books where like their own personal stories. I think he said only one of them or two of them were connected to the novels. Uh, but they're all basically their own like own in universe their own little universe stories. Yeah, I heard they're good, and I do really like their covers. I don't know why. I was like, yeah, this definitely gives me goosebumps vibes. Like these covers and like the concept and everything. I was like, God, that takes me back. That takes me back. That's cool. That's cool. I think this generation need a little bit of a little goosebumps because there's always gonna be kids that are kind of like I want to be scared, but I don't want to be overwhelmingly scared. You know, it's just like just your basic spoopers. Um, but yeah. Then I don't know if I'll continue. Uh, they'll be fine. Yeah, exactly. The Twilight Zone. But um, yeah, it's like a mix. Like it is kind of like a mixture of Twilight Zone and Goosebumps. Um, oh, I was gonna say something. What was it? Oh yeah, I don't know if I'll continue with the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise since Scott is retired. Um, I mean, it's one of those things. Like I am confident on who he will pick to replace him, but at the same time, just like, like, I don't know. Like George Lucas thought he was confident in putting the hands of, you know, you know who I'm talking about. But you know how that went. So it's one of those things. Like even the most, I don't know. I don't know. That and I'm like it's one of those things. It was kind of funny because one person pointed out, I was all like, yeah, but I still won't support the franchise because even if he retires, he's still gonna get money out of it. I'm like, you're right. So I was like, oh, maybe I will continue the franchise then. But at the same time, I was like, but I'm a little concerned that it might not have the heart that Scott put into it, you know? Because he was kind of a little part of it in some cases. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'll know for sure after the other game finally comes out, because at least Scott is still technically involved in that, in the sense of like he was still heavily involved in it before all this happened. 3-1. Oh wow. Wait, are we still talking about the FNAF series, or is this a different book series? Because that's a lot. I didn't realize how many there were. If this is part of the spin-off books, I know they're short stories, but holy shit. There's one more game that he's been involved in. I don't know how much. It's one of those things I'm concerned that they might take certain things out because of the whole situation. But I know he has at least one more game that he's been involved in for a while. That was the what was it called? Uh, was it Security Breach? That's what it was called. It was FNAF Security Breach. That's gonna be the last game he's quote unquote involved in, depending on the laybacks on it. Like the longer this game takes to come out, the more I'm concerned that he'll have any part in.
because he was working on it for like basically this whole year. Well, technically last year, but that was just because everything, got complicated. Oh, okay, there are 3 stories. Oh, okay. I was like, wait, how many books are there? That's a lot of books. Okay, so let's see, 3, 1, and 2. Oh, okay. I guess I'm just gonna have to just buy all of them. I'm just gonna buy all of them and read them. But yeah, it's one of those things where, I guess I won't know until after, Security Breach. I'll feel about the franchise after that. Yeah, reading can be hard, even if it's something you enjoy. Like I said, like how when it comes to me reading, it feels like I'm on a treadmill. Doo-doo. Oh, I need to remember this weekend to catch up on Nefarious. That's something that I need to catch up on. I've been so busy. So busy. Ever since vacation ended. Man, I should have read Nefarious while I was on vacation. God dang it. I just realized what I could have been doing. Because I got so caught up in other things. Oh, in fact, you know what? I'm finally going to do it. Yeah, I'm thinking of doing that, like, kind of catching up on side stuff this weekend, too. That's kind of why I want to finish the comic book page, so I don't have to worry about it. I want to do something real quick. Hold up. Time out. Time out. I want to show, like, yeah, and then, like, where's the Discord? Time out. Time out. Where should I put it? In media? Probably. I'm gonna show a little bit of my watch later list. If you can see on the first one yeah, it's lit. Oops, I put them in backwards. But you get what I mean. Is that I just recently hit 67 videos left. But oh my god. This list, bro. Stupidly long. This is why I don't watch TV. Because I got all this shit to watch. Who needs TV when you got this? Oh yeah. Oh, you know what I should have put that in? God dang it. Hold up. Let me fix that. I forgot we have a stream channel. That makes more sense. Stream talk. God, I'm stupid. There we go. I'm just gonna delete the post over here. Sorry, Emily. Come on. Delete this post here. Delete. There we go. There. Now it makes more sense.
Um, oh, you know what? It's kind of funny because there was, well, not funny, haha, but like, I remember listening to the 12 Rules of Writing, and he explained the whole, you shouldn't wait for inspiration rule. Sometimes you just gotta push forward. Yeah, like, you shouldn't wait for inspiration slash motivation. I mean, he technically just used inspiration, but a lot of it is also motivation. I feel like that was the only thing he was kind of like missing in that. Hey, Neek. Once again, screaming into the void. Best method. Best method. But oh shoot, I forgot what I was talking about. Where was I? Something about, something about, something about something. Oh, right, right, right. Waiting for motivation and inspiration. Um, you're never gonna get anything done with that mindset. I also like to use the term writing is hard. Writing is hard. And to be fair, that kind of goes for everything. It's not just writing. Like, art is hard. Making video games is hard. Fucking, yeah, it's hard. That's why there's jobs for it. Like, I get it. Sometimes, like, if you're just doing it for a hobby, then yes, you don't have to worry about that kind of thing. But if you're trying to get somewhere with it, having a like waiting for motivation and stuff like that, you gotta you gotta break out of that habit as soon as possible. Everyone has their own way of doing it, but you just have to do it. That's why I kind of started doing these art streams as kind of like the closest thing to, like, I guess, motivation I could think of, in the sense of just like, uh, I don't feel like I'm by myself doing it, kind of thing. It kind of gets me out of that funk of just like, I'm like not, I'm, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not necessarily having fun. Like, I don't know. Just breaking the silence, I guess, the best way to put it. Or breaking the monotonous, or the, I hate to say it, loneliness of it sometimes. Not that I can't do it by myself, but there's some days where it's a little harder to do it by myself than others, because I used to. I guess it doesn't help that I've been roommates with my sister for so long. We'd be working on stuff, so I kind of miss that, uh, the ability to just like turn around and talk to my sister sometimes, uh, while I'm working. Oh, I'm sort of been kind of capturing that recently when it comes to the late work, because I end up calling her, we end up watching stuff, and then while we're watching stuff, I work on stuff, right? Um, but it's not as convenient as it used to be, and I think these streams kind of help that tiny void that I used to have, that kind of made doing this stuff kind of difficult. Because, like, when I say we were roommates, I mean, like, we literally had computers, like, basically right across from each other. Like if we were in an office building, that's what that was. So, like, we could have those moments of just like, hey, it's lunch break, so we just turned around and just started talking about stuff. But yeah, and that's kind of why I started doing these streams, is kind of like kind of like getting that mindset back. Because working on projects by yourself, especially when there's some people that are actually far more comfortable with just having like a private little room to work on stuff because they've always had that mindset.
I never really did. So when I moved out and started working by myself, it kind of killed some of the motivation a little bit. I think that's why there was like, I swear to God, there was like 2 years where I didn't do anything. About 2.5 years where I didn't do, or it's not that I didn't do anything. Um, I I had trouble posting stuff because I wasn't really posting projects. I just kind of made like it directly turned into a hobby, so I ended up doing the whole like, well, I'll do it when I feel motivated. I have to be in a situation where I don't want to do other things, right? And Nick over here making movement noises. And it's kind of funny, like I know you guys are really cool and stuff like that about coming into these streams and stuff like that, but I don't know. Uh, I think even if I didn't have anybody show up on the stream, at least I would have like some kind of mindset that someone could come in and talk, you know? I mean, I'm super lucky to have you guys come in here and all that stuff. Like, I guess it's one of those things I kind of mentally prepared myself for like a lot of no-show streams. Mostly because like I was trying to find advice about what to do and like how to make your streams like popular. Now, to be fair, that was kind of not really like the super main goal is to make the streams popular, but I at least wanted to like not feel like I'm making streams for no reason, outside of just like personal stuff. So I was like, and maybe there's just some rules that would be nice to know, kind of thing. Um, and so it was just kind of funny that I was kind of mentally like they always warn you about like you're not for a long time you're not gonna have any people showing up to your streams. Um, like you're gonna have a lot of first starting out your streams, you're gonna have a lot of dead time, a lot of days where like no one showed up, and you just gotta get used to that. And I guess I could say I'm one of the few lucky ones that didn't have to deal with that so early on. There we go. Makes me wonder why I haven't like I should have started YouTube years ago if that were the case. But then again, if I started YouTube years ago, maybe I wouldn't. I would actually have that problem, you know? Like, I don't know. It's one of those butterfly effect kind of things. Da, da, da. There we go. I'll have to put a line through there. Oh, I forgot this whole part right here. Whoops. Boop. Okay. But yeah. I don't know if anybody's interested in talking about. Oh. Exactly. Cause and effect is a weird thing. Yeah, it's one of those things like I've always mentally prepared. It's always weird. I've always mentally prepared myself for having like super like like dead streams. But then kind of. I mean, sometimes you tactically qualify them as dead. Some people would qualify it. Um, and then I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Cause and effect is a weird. It's a weird thing. television show. Okay. Like as in not here, as in this location, or existence. Like I feel like I don't know the context of. But ah. Oh, I don't know if I explained this yet. I think I explained it before anybody even showed up on the stream. Was the reason why I'm not working on the thumbnail right now is because I forgot to do the sketch last night. Oh, right. Okay. Now this makes more sense. Now this makes a lot more sense. So yeah. That's an interesting mindset to have. I used to have that mindset a lot, but then I started losing a lot of my time, my free time to really do that. But, okay. Good luck with that. Ah. I started thinking like, is that what I think it is? But what we were doing earlier was one of the many things we were talking about earlier was like tropes, and I have a lot of it's one of those things. I have a lot of tropes that I like that are kind of overdone. Which with me, I'm just all like, please give me more. But it is kind of funny seeing a lot of people starting to criticize a lot of these tropes recently. And it's been interesting in the sense of like I get the idea of it being overdone, but that's not necessarily a critique, it's more of an observation. Because just because something is overplayed or overdone doesn't make it bad. It can make it boring, especially if you use the most boring options for it. But boring and bad aren't the same thing, to an extent. Cause actually the funny thing is, weird thing about art is it's one of the few things in the world where your story being boring is worse than it being bad. Because if it's bad, people are not going to talk about it. People are not going to feel anything. Like, anger is still an emotion, when it comes to, and I hate to say bad publicity is good publicity kind of stance, but it's kind of true with some stories. Like, I still, like, I remember I didn't like Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeal, right? It's like the one Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that I absolutely despise. I hated the first season, and then like season 2 happened, and I was just like, meh. Like, I could not begin to care. And I only cared a little bit the last season because I kind of just wanted to know how this ended. But I felt more passion in season 1 than I felt in season 2. And I was like, you know what? That's even worse than just saying that this sucks because the main character is a piece of shit. But then the main character became like boring because they tried to fix him. But they fixed him to the point where I didn't care anymore. Because it'd be one thing if they made a logical change to him that made me care, but they just went, okay, he doesn't do that anymore. I'm like, okay, like, you know. What do you mean you're afraid to be animator? Are you afraid of being boring? Well, you don't have an executive breathing down your throat, so it'll be far more interesting than most things that are out there. Let's see. There we go. But I do get the idea of like being scared that your story won't be interesting enough to catch anybody's eye. And that is the struggle between there's a struggle. Oh, well, you could always do a silent animation. A lot of people actually like those. Like a lot of visual storytelling. Visual storytelling is still a thing. A lot of people like those. They could be hard for completely different reasons, though. But usually visual storytelling can be a lot easier in the sense of being short. Usually the best ones are really short, so you could also have a lot of small projects under your belt. That's also another good benefit. Or you could do the classic hire a writer. Like you could just buy a script and just work off of it. Now, depending on who you buy it from, those could range from being super expensive to being, you know, that actually wasn't so bad. Or you could just hire an editor. There were people, oh my god. There were people, I remember on DeviantArt in the old days, there was this one person that really liked my stuff. But of course my spelling was awful. Because that's when you think my dyslexia is bad now? Jesus Christ. But they really liked my stuff, so they wanted to be my editor. Now, as a teenager, I didn't know, you know, how valuable an editor's job is. But we were just both teenagers doing shit for free, so it was fine. So I was like, yeah, sure. I'll give you the script, and then you could clean it up, and then I'll let you know when it comes out. And we did that for a while. In fact, there was a lot of people on DeviantArt that didn't mind being editors for other people. That was before, you know, people tried to make careers out of it, or at least were focused on making careers out of it. It was more of just like, you know, just making stuff, you know. But now there's this expectations now of trying to make careers out of it. I guess is the best way to put it. Um, uh, but anyway, I just remember I did have an editor for my writing at a certain point. It was kind of funny because like she was really cool in the sense of like sometimes she would put like little character um, quotes that made me realize that those are really fun to do. So I started to implement them more into my characters' personalities. Is like because I remember I don't know if you remember the character Stranger, right? And he was like this warlock, technically witch. Um, no, he was a witch that was technically a warlock, and he was made completely out of candy. And instead of saying things like "damn it" or like "shit," like when he was just like kind of swearing, he would say "stale." Like he would say "stale" as like a small swear when he was frustrated with something. I was like, I love that. I want to keep that. Like I'll have to remember that's a thing he does. Cause I like this. Like I don't know why I feel giddy with cover swears. You know I swear a lot. Like sometimes I go. That's the funny thing. Okay, funny thing about me. This is a yearly thing where some years I will swear like a sailor all the time, like non-stop swearing. And then maybe a year or two, I'll just like suddenly I don't swear anymore. Like that's just not a thing I do anymore. And people are like, "Don't like, didn't you used to swear a lot?" And I'm like, "I think." Like like I don't know. I just maybe, and sometimes it's because I find a bunch of like cover swears that I find amusing, and I just start using those instead. Um, and then maybe a year or two after that, I'll start going back to swearing like a sailor. I guess it depends on the environment I'm in at the time. Um, and I just find that funny how that's just like a thing that's been like with me my entire life. Because there's some people like if they knew me before the swearing happened, and then suddenly I just start swearing like crazy, and then they'd be like, "What the hell?" Like it's like the innocent little girl that we just met started swearing all of a sudden. I was like, "I've sworn before. Like I don't know what your problem is," and I was like, "Oh wait." The entire like 2 years I've been talking to these people, I've never sworn once in front of them. No wonder why they're confused. I remember after my first job, that's when the swearing started because everybody at my job sweared all the time, all day, every day. Um, and suddenly I just started like it just started falling out of my vocabulary basically, and it was funny because like some of my friends would be all like, "Oh no, she's tainted." Actually, it was even worse because the people at my job at one point were just like, "It's like, oh no, she's tainted," and I'm sitting here going like, "You swear in front of my face every single day. What do you think was gonna happen? Like, what do you think?" Ah, you're one of those like genuinely angry swearers. I get that. I get that. Even when I go through those years where I don't technically swear, uh, I do have those moments. If you get me angry enough, I'll start like chewing you out in slurs. But I get that. I actually the funny thing is there was a period like I think yeah if you remember way back when I used to stream like a few years ago, um, you could tell that I try to avoid swearing on stream because even though I kind of had that experience of like not swearing, like sometimes I go through phases of like, do I swear a lot? Do I swear a little bit? But I didn't like hearing myself swear in recording. Like something about having evidence that I swore, like foolproof evidence that I've sworn in some point in my life. made me very uncomfortable. So I avoid doing it while I streamed. In fact, this year is probably the only time I ever really swore on stream a lot. True. That would be the thing. Hear that, everybody? Don't call her a bitch. Sorry. I don't know why. It's funny. But but yeah, it would be kind of funny. Actually, the funny thing is, I've been thinking about this, is that once I do hardcore mode, I'm gonna avoid swearing. Like this Minecraft stream that we've been doing. I just say what comes out of my mouth. I don't really care. But I want to see if I can not be try like like the joke's gonna be professionals don't swear. uh I want the first let's play to have me just just say whatever comes to mind and stuff like that, and then when I do the hardcore mode, I'll be a little more cautious of what comes out of my mouth. But then again, by the time I get there, maybe I'll already be in that mindset of just oh no, nah, just swearing's just not a thing I do right now. Yeah, my sisters do that. They're just bitch. Hey, bitch. It's like a condescending greeting. I don't know why we do this. Mind you. I was about to say, if Connor's on your team, good luck with that. Oh. I just hope when school starts again, it won't completely. Ah, yes, drink the glue. It won't completely derail live streaming. Um, I know for a fact it will cut it in half. If anything, best case scenario, will cut it in half. I don't know. It's just one of those things where my brain instantly just started dreading school for a little bit. I'm going through my moody teenager phase. He says the dreaded word, whatever. The most dreaded teenage word you'll ever hear in your entire life. Oh, shit. Oh, I think that's coming from... It's coming from this one? No. This one? Yes, it's coming from the bubbles one. I'll just get rid of that. That's just gonna annoy me if those stay. Alright. Back to color. I mean, can you really blame him, though? Can you really blame him, though, being a little angsty about the situation? But yeah. I don't blame him, but the mood, though. It's such a mood. I never had a rebellious teenager phase. Not everybody goes through that. And I think some people get the wrong mindset when it comes to rebellion. Like they assume you're constantly like in a mood. Sometimes it's just basically just not like rebellion doesn't always mean doesn't necessarily have to be a mood. Sometimes you could have a rebellious phase far later in life. I feel like I've been kind of in a rebellious phase. Like lately I just been just like just flipping off the man kind of vibes recently. And to be fair, I wonder if it's more constructive to do it in your later years, because at least you'll have more of an understanding of what exactly you're rebelling. Not that you can't be an adult and rebel over stupid things. Trust me, I've seen them. But yeah, like, not everybody goes through your, I guess the best way to describe it, basic rebellious phase. And mean it. Like I get like I I mean I just wear the goth clothes just because I like them. But I do get the whole I want to say whatever and mean it. I mean I kind of been that way in a sense where actually that's a funny thing. I feel like um in your 20s you're constantly in a state of fear of what people think of you. Uh, Not in the same extent as it is when you're a teenager. It's the same but different. It's a different kind of expectation. But then I'm kind of in this I'm kind of in this phase where I'm not exactly in the 60s year bracket where you like I heard a lot of people say like what is it? Um you care way too much about what people think when you're a teenager. You still care what people think about you when you're adult, when you're 20. You start to not care at 30 and you don't give a fuck at 60. Like I think that's the pattern of things. Once you hit 60, you're like fuck everything. I do what I want. Because I know my mom's in that phase right now. She is definitely in the phase of like, fuck off. I do what I want. Most likely, most likely. But then again, a lot of people say I have a lot of patience. Now, I have a lot of patience for children. I don't know if I have a lot of patience for teenagers. I mean, the best way to describe you is children. Mostly because legally you are, and also it's a lot easier to. I think a lot of creators, I think a lot of content creators in general, um, I think the best mindset to have is that you're constantly talking to children when you have like I'm the responsible one. I think the best way to look at your audience is children. Like it's a little frustrating, especially when you're super popular. So like not everyone that watches you is children. Yeah, but it's easier to have that mindset so you don't do something stupid like date one of them. You know what I mean?
Because even if like we're not dealing with like say like even if they're like same age, well maybe not the same age, but like both adults, like we're not dealing with the really really gross stuff, right? um there's some content creators that will like date their fans, and it's probably not a smart idea, only because just because you're both adults doesn't change the fact that you kind of have like a like it depends on what kind of content you make too. Like if you became too personal, BS. um I guess it kind of depends on your content. Like if you're a straight up entertainer, um that doesn't put yourself out personally too much, I guess like dating your fans might not be a big thing, because let's be real, like your fans don't really know who you actually are, except maybe the one that you actually like got to know outside of just. I guess it's one of those things. When does a fan not become a fan anymore? I guess the best way to put it. And then it's okay to date them. Like it's one of those things where it's just like when, or is it just a straight up no? Just don't even try it. Yeah, she actually paid the late fee this time. I don't know. Like it's one of those things where I'm not really giving out any answers to this question. It's just more like me just kind of spitting it out there. Because I remember, because it didn't used to be such a big thing when YouTuber. I guess it's because there was not really like you could be fame meant more in the sense of a like um that was before influencers were a thing. Being famous meant just like you're not famous. You make enough money, but you're not like influencing a young generation or whatever the fuck. Um, or just influencing a generation or whatever. Um, like it's one of those things where, but now we're reached up to the point where YouTubers are like I know YouTubers don't like to say that they're celebrity status, but let's be real, guys. You kind of kicked TV's ass. Like you kind of kicked its ass. It's dead. You killed it. I'm sorry. You kind of killed it. Um, you've kind of reached Hollywood status. In not all cases, obviously, some YouTubers are still just level E fame. Um, but we've reached the stage in YouTube history where E famous, it could just mean be famous. Like like you're probably not like A tier, but let's be honest, guys. Some of you guys have become B tier, and that's a responsibility that it's hard to navigate on your own. That's why, to be fair, a lot of these like A celebrities have like managers and shit. Yeah, exactly. We're in that phase right now. Um, we're in that phase where radio kill, like yeah, video killed the radio star. Mm-hmm. And and that's why even if you're super responsible, like in the sense of like you know don't be the P, you know what I mean? Um, if you're dating like if you date a fan that is a responsible adult like you are, doesn't change the fact that you kind of have a little bit of a like you kind of have a thing over them. Especially, oh my god, especially the ones that use their power. Like if the relationship goes bad, radio killed this video star. But but yeah, it's one of those things like you still have that kind of power, and especially if you use it. Like I don't know. It's one of those things where depends on how smart the YouTuber is about keeping things private. Because some of them are really really dumb. And I'm just kind of in this phase of like, is it okay to date your fans if like
Because in the end of the day, not like I guess with some YouTubers, they probably don't want to do that because like their age range is obvious. Like I wouldn't date my fans because so far it seems pretty obvious that the majority of you guys are either teenagers or barely adults. So that's why I wouldn't do it. Um, yeah. Uh, wait, it had a whole thing. Uh, wait. That's the thing too. Like it's one of those things where like I think of it as just adopting your fans as children just to get that mindset out of your head. But at the same time, it comes across as condescending to some fans, I guess. Um, it once again it depends on the kind of audience that you have, uh, the the age range you tend to come across. Um, and of course, even if you make like strictly blue content, like you're super raunchy, super edgy, you most likely have like the majority of them adults. Is it still a good idea to date a fan? Um, and for now, I think no, because most celebrities wouldn't consider that a good idea. So why should YouTubers think that's a good idea? But then again, you remember, well, PewDiePie technically not only dated but married his fan. Um, but that was around the time things weren't so sensitive. So he dodged a bullet in the sense of like that was before eFame became such a profitable. Uh, it feels like I'm talking about royalty. Like remember when royals used to date people within the family because they weren't allowed to date peasants. It's I hate to put it in that mindset, but it kind of does feel and sound like that's what we're talking about when I talk about this kind of stuff. I know this is like coming like it's one of those things like God, this is such an uncomfortable uncomfortable topic, but I've just been kind of thinking about it recently. It's all like, is it like I'm not gonna do it, but can I 100% say to somebody that they shouldn't? Even if we're all adults in the situation? Bloody Mary, are you right? Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it was a weird topic to think about. Because there's like, obviously you shouldn't be dating your fans if they're underage and all that jazz, Like, yeah, duh, obviously. No shit. But I'm thinking more of like, well, like you brought up the Danny situation. Dan Avidan had a whole thing with a fan where it was un, 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 why can't I say that? Uncertain? Well, that's the thing. Like with that situation, she was an adult. That I think that's why I was thinking about it was that particular situation. It's like, well, to be fair, they're adults in this situation. Um, when I was looking through it, we found out that she was adult when they actually started dating and stuff like that. In fact, I think she was almost adult when they even started talking, and she was well into her adult age when they actually started dating, right? Um, and it's one of those things where it's all like, well, I guess dating isn't exactly the right word. They hooked up when she was like 21, 22. She was in her 20s. And I don't know. Oh wait, just one second. Just one itty bitty second. I gotta open up a file. Um, so I was like, well, if they're both adults in the situation, why should I be um, concerned if they had a bad breakup or a bad experience in the relationship? Because this is not cancelable. You could say, depending on who is telling the truth in the situation. You can argue that Dan was a bad boyfriend, but that's as far as he's gonna go. That's not cancellation. That's just kind of being a dick. Wait. Sorry. Just one second. I'm trying to find. Where is it? Oh, there it is. I just wanted to get. Oh, let me go back here, and I think the music stopped. Let me fix that. Yes. I've never heard of that one. Charlie. Excuse me. But yeah. Once again, it was just a thought process of like, um, it's like, is this 100% a rule in the sense of not dating fans? Um, or are there other means that are okay to an extent? I don't know. I don't know. Oh, what the hell? There we go. I got the right thing now. Because it feels like um, it's getting harder and harder to understand. Mostly, like I said, I think. Oh, is that from? That's one it's from. I feel like YouTube status is reaching Hollywood status. The problem is YouTubers don't have um, like agents and stuff like that to keep them from doing stupid shit. You know, they're on their own. They're just people that are on their own when it comes to this kind of stuff. And you can like it's one of those things where don't get me wrong, some of them are just like 100% in the wrong all the time. I'm just more talking about people who make questionable decisions uh, that, if you really think about it, no one really knows the right answer to. Um, if that makes any sense. What? I don't know. I'm just trailing off. Is Charlie Charlie based off of SCP? I love those things. Even though like my sister knows more about them than I do. I like the game. Like that's the problem. That's the only big problem with when it comes to the SCP creatures is that I'm pretty sure they're all copyrighted from the different authors and stuff like that. I think the only reason why the game was able to be made is because he was able to get permission from the writers to use them in the game. Because I'm pretty sure that each individual monster is. I know that each individual monster is made by a different writer, but I think they have rules about like um, copyright when it comes to each monster. But then again, I might be wrong. I think. Does the website? No, I don't think the website owns them. I think each individual writer owns their each individual monster. I think. I don't know if that rule changed. But I remember the last time I looked it up is that each writer, they're all made by different people. Each monster is made by a different person, and they're all copyright protected under the website. Um, and I think the person who made the game specifically asked for permission to use their monsters in the game. because he knew about the strict rules about that. And like I said, I don't know if those rules have changed since the last time I saw. But I think the writers are pretty generous when it comes to people using their monsters as long as you ask permission. I, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that's changed recently. They might be more restrictive with it now. I don't know. It's one of those things where I would double, like, if you really want to pursue something like that, I would double be sure the rules of the, because like I said, they're all made by different writers, posting all on one website. So it'd be easy to find them. It'd just be hard to figure out the rules and regulations on like how you can use them. I think the website has like a rule thing. Like it does explain like the extent that you could use these creatures for other projects and stuff like that. Or if you could do any project outside of the website, you could use these monsters for. Because I know there's a game that has a thing, and then I know there's like a website. There's another website I think that kind of goes into more like visual detail of what the monsters are and stuff like that. That's kind of separated from the website, but I think they've talked to the website about it. I mean, if you want to tell me about it, because I actually don't know anything about that particular one. If it's because then again, I'm really bad at remembering the numbers of them. There's some that I know, but I always forget what the numbers for each one are. Sometimes I use like the fan made name or just like a made up name that I gave it myself, because remembering the numbers for these things is a nightmare. What is the total number of monsters now? Oh my god. There are more monsters than there are Pokemon. Now that I think about it, has Pokemon finally reached the 1,000 Pokemon yet? So I feel like we should have hit that a while back. I think they've been kind of slowing down on the numbers to avoid hitting the 1,000 mark. Once again, I don't know which each number is, so like I wouldn't know. What do you mean?
generally don't know which monsters you're talking about. Like, I know, like, individual monsters if you, like, gave me a description of them. But I don't know, like, the numbers of which ones have what. There we go. Huh? Ah. Might want to keep the website open, Bo, for a little bit. What do you mean? I don't understand. Oh, okay. 113, of course. Okay. I haven't heard of that one in particular, but then again, I more remember the ones involved in the actual game that was made. Oh shoot. Wow, time really did fly by, didn't it? Crap. Oh, I already saved. Alright, guys. I think it's time I have to close the stream. Ooh, it's a little, just a bit early, but... Ooh. I need to, like, get ready for stuff. Oh, hopefully I'll remember to actually do the thumbnail, and then I'll be able to work on it tomorrow. Yep. It's time to close stream. Alright. That's it for stream for now, guys. I gots to go. I got to go and eat lunch and do some exercising and then get to work. Oh dear. 25, 21. Alright. Alright, well, you invoked the beast, I didn't. Alright. Talk to you later, guys. Bye. Good morning and good night.